I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to our Operation Freedom Health ongoing series that has been ongoing for well over 2 years. Every other week for the past 2 years, Dr. Peter Glidden and I have presented to you information that the bought-off, lamestream, fake media, big pharma, big medicine, read that as the AMA, big insurance, and big government, read that as the one political party that exists called the Republicrats, all owned and operated by a criminal syndicate. All of those entities despise this series that Peter and I have done. And the reason is because this series of presentations empowers you in your own body to get to the health and wellness that you strive for, cherish, and frankly deserve. All those entities are directly opposed to our efforts because their whole gig is, you got to take my drug. You got to use my insurance company. You got to use my doctor, and you got to use my hospital if you want to be healthy. And Peter and I have done everything in our power to empower you and your own body so that you do not have to use any of the before-mentioned bigs. Now, one of the big problems that I've been getting feedback on, and a lot of our viewers from Canada have been in touch with me the last several months, and it's only been escalating the past couple of weeks, is about stress, about tackling stress. So today, Peter and I want to focus on tackling stress. Here we go. With nutrition rather than with drugs. It's my honor to welcome back my friend, Dr. Peter Glidden, who's one of the top naturopathic physicians, not just in our country, but in the world. He is also a fantastic researcher and an outstanding author. He has 2 books available on his website, drglidden, Glidden.com, as well as Amazon. Also, I believe on Barnes & Noble. Everybody is sick, and I know why. This should be the foundation of your medical library. And the second foundation of your medical library should be his second book, Attempt to Cure with Holistic Medicine. It's my honor to welcome back Dr. Peter Glidden. Peter, welcome back to the Insider Insight Show, the Operation Freedom Health platform, and Operation Freedom itself.
Dave, it's always a pleasure to be here. Sometimes I feel like Sisyphus rolling the rock up the hill, only to have it roll back down, but not when I'm with you, because there is hope on the Operation Freedom platform.
Well, there really is, Pete. You know, we've come a long way. We've really come a long way with this, because every presentation you and I do, we get a significant amount of positive feedback. Mm-hmm. And because your message is very clean and it's very straightforward, that our God-given bodies have the ability to protect themselves, and when a insult or a pathogen comes in contact with our body, that we have the God-given ability to fight it. But to fight it, we have to have the appropriate components. This is in direct contradistinction, Pete, to what I was taught in medical school. Pete, everybody's going to get sick. Everybody's going to get. So there are things you can do to get people, to address their illness. But not one of those arrows in a quiver that I was given in medical school, what's called Allopathic Medicine. Now, one of those arrows, should have been actually a bazooka, focused on nutrition and nutritional support.
You're absolutely right, David, and the numbers don't lie. I mean, since allopathic medicine has been all the rage and has existed inside of a monopoly for 110 years now, by the way, life expectancy is getting shorter. Chronic disease is increasing, obesity is increasing, Alzheimer's is increasing, attention deficit disorder is increasing, autism is increasing, Type 2 diabetes is increasing, heart disease. Everybody's getting sick, and I know why.
Yeah, you do.
It's because allopathic medicine, which is fantastic for trauma care, surgery when it's necessary, is horrible for everything else because it does not even attempt to cure the illness. It just manages the illness with drugs which suppress the symptoms, sweep the symptoms under the rug, making people weaker as time goes by and more dependent on the drugs. And, you know, thank God for insulin and lidocaine and anesthesia, general anesthesia, and the sterile technique. This is not a diatribe against drugs. This is a diatribe against the juvenile use of the drug in the treatment of chronic disease. And it's a giant problem. And the reason that people like what we talk about is because we speak the truth. And the truth has a ring to it. And if you're even a little bit mature, you get that. And then, you know, nothing argues better than results. So most of the time when people follow our recommendations, there's something in their body minds improves, and often it's dramatically. So
Pete, let's address the issue of stress. I mentioned it's been an ongoing issue for 2 years, but for the past month or so, and in particular the past couple weeks, I have been inundated with people contacting me from Canada based on all that they're going through. That they need some help in addressing the issue and tackling stress, not by big pharmaceutical company products, but what can they do nutritionally? So help folks out here, Pete, because this is something that I've benefited from your expertise in the past of what can be done nutritionally to really, really tackle stress.
So stress is intimately involved in my life as a naturopathic doctor because the school that I went to, the naturopathic medical school that I went to, is called Bastyr University. And Bastyr University was founded by Dr. Joseph Pizzorno in the early 1980s. It was kind of like the resurrection of naturopathic medicine in the United States. It happened in the early 1980s. And Dr. Pizzorno was the individual that spearheaded the whole thing. And Pizzorno spearheaded the entire thing because he was inspired by another doctor named Hans Selye. He was a PhD who wrote a book called The Stress of Life. And Hans Selye coined the term stress, actually, in his book. And he discovered there are two types of stress that impact the human body. One is eustress, which strengthens the body, like physical exercise, right? So you lift a weight, you rip the muscle fiber, that's a stress. But after that stress, the body rebuilds the muscle fiber, making it stronger and bigger. So that type of stress is called eustress, right? You exercise appropriately, it stresses your cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system strengthens itself after the stress, and voila, you're stronger and better. And there's another type of stress that everybody thinks about when they think about stress, which is called DeStress. And DeStress weakens the body. DeStress knocks the body down. DeStress is harmful to the body. And Selye did really interesting experiments with rats. And he had dramatic representations of before and after autopsies of rats, which were just normal rats or rats that they stressed. And I forget how they stressed the rat, but I think they did it with electrical shocks.
Maybe did they have him listen to a Joe Biden speech?
They might have done that.
Yeah, maybe. Or Justin Trudeau's speech.
Could have been Justin Trudeau. That would stress anybody.
Or Klaus Schwab's speech, or George.
I think
Soros
maybe they put a
Hillary
picture of Justin Trudeau in the rat's cage, and that was horrible.
They probably identified actually with him. Yeah. Go ahead. No, sorry.
So after they stressed the rat, right? They euthanized the rat, and they did an autopsy, and they compared the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands of the rats that were stressed were like 1/8 the size of a normal healthy adrenal gland. it was an unbelievable visual change. I mean, it was clear as a bell, unmistakable. So this led to the understanding that the adrenal glands in the human body, which sit right on top of each kidney, are intimately involved with the stress reaction, right? Mm-hmm. Especially with DeStress, with negative stress to the body. So, and that has been borne out over time with more research and more doctors and more people putting these two things together. So because of Hans Selye's work, Dr. Pizzorno was inspired to become a naturopath, so much so that he founded Bastyr University, which is where I matriculated. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting, and there's a lot to understand about the human body's response to negative stress. And of course, this isn't rocket science, but when the body is stressed, and the stress that we've been experiencing in this time, in the last 2 years, mm-hmm. Through the cult of the branch Covidians, mm-hmm. is constant, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. unrelenting.
Correct.
It's not like a big stress, like, exposure to ionizing radiation, right, from a nuclear bomb, or it's not like that.
No.
It's small, creeps up on you like a Cape Cod fog. Mm-hmm. Before you know it, you're in the thick of it. You're negatively affected by it. You didn't even see it coming, mm-hmm. because it's everywhere all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's a big bad voodoo daddy, because that will knock you down, because the adrenal glands, as they try to adapt and respond to the stress, they get a little weaker. Mm-hmm. They get a little weaker if you're not nutrified. Mm-hmm. Because as the adrenal glands adapt to stress and try to secrete the hormones that they secrete as a stress response that help the rest of the body out, mm-hmm. that demands metabolism, and the metabolism is upregulated, and it burns through, guess what? Nutrients. The first two nutrients that go by the wayside, mm-hmm. when there's a constant distress to the human body, mm-hmm. are vitamin C, mm-hmm. and zinc in the adrenal glands, and also magnesium.
Which people say this is an old wives' tale, that when you have a lot of stress, you become more vulnerable to infectious pathogens. You actually, some people will tell you, I can tell you, this is a whole while. People have said stress can lead to malignancies as well.
100%. And this is the mechanism behind that. It doesn't happen just by hook or by crook or randomly. There are metabolic pathways in the body that are upregulated when you're under stress. And that's like stepping on the gas in the car. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have enough oil in the tank, the faster you rev the engine up, the engine's going to seize, and then nothing wrong with the engine. You just ran out of oil. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's the same with the human body. When you're stressed by something, you better make sure you have enough magnesium, enough zinc, and enough vitamin C. Those things are specific for the human stress response. And let us not forget the fundamental naturopathic nugget here, that even though in this case of a stress response, mm-hmm. there are 3 nutrients that are pretty important, mm-hmm. there are 87 other nutrients that those 3 nutrients need in order to work in symphony with the rest of the body. It's never just a one-trick pony. It's never just one thing.
And that's why, Pete, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this brings up a very important point. And you have drilled this home, but we got to drill it home again. There are some people that say, well, I'm going to take a lot of one thing, a lot of vitamin C, for example. And I'm going to fractionate. I'm just going to take that fraction of the 90. I'm just going to do that. And that's all well and fine. However, it's not effective. You need to have that. It's like having just a flute section in a band. If you're going to play the whole symphony, you got to have the clarinets and the drums and the trumpets and the trombones in order to make everything come together. Is that wrong?
That's 100% spot on correct. And, it's really interesting because Linus Pauling, who was the vitamin C guru back in the day, He died from an aortic aneurysm, which is direct result of a copper deficiency.
No.
And Pauling was Mr. Fractionated Nutrition. He was like gram doses of, 1,000 milligram doses, 4,000 milligram doses of vitamin C every day. We'd start to give it intravenously to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you just do one nutrient, it's going to upset the apple cart.
Yep.
Because you are going to get some positive results, but you're also going to get all these unintended consequences because the rest of the orchestra is in the wings.
Yeah, right. You got to put everybody in the orchestra hall,
100%
to play the
or
piece.
It's just not going to work the best way. Right. So now, in order then to deal with the stress of life, which is everywhere all the time now, especially if you're in Canada now, and in a couple of weeks it's going to be in the United States as the convoy trucks towards Washington, D.C., thank God, and past the hat, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
You need to guard yourself. You need to support your nutritional status. You need to. It's the same way that you need to put on a coat and hat and gloves and a scarf when you go outside in sub-zero weather. Same idea. That's a stress. This is a stress. You got to guard yourself against the stress. How are you going to guard yourself against the stress? In an optimal way, all you do is the foundation pack.
Okay.
The foundation pack.
And the foundation pack consists of what?
The Beyond Tangy Tangerine.
Okay.
Nutritional powder, which has vitamins, minerals, amino acids, prebiotics, probiotics, antioxidants. It's a fantastic array of nutrients in a really easy to absorb formula. Number 2 is the liquid plant-derived minerals, which gives your body 66% of its nutrient needs, two-thirds in one bottle of the body's nutrient needs. Again, in formulations that the body can absorb just by looking at the stuff. It's so easy to absorb. Number 3 is a liquid calcium or a powdered calcium supplement, but it's not just calcium. It's calcium and magnesium plus a bunch of other trace minerals that especially the bones and the skeletal system of the body need in order to suck the calcium up. And that's really a big deal because that's got the magnesium in it. And magnesium is a big helper when we're dealing with stress. It's a gigantic helper. And the last thing is little fish oil capsules called Prohoba Omegas that give the body omega-3 essential fatty acids, which are essential for hormone production and healthy skin and healthy lungs and a whole bunch of other things. So all of these things go together in a nice little orchestra to give the body everything that it needs in formulations that it can absorb. And that's what we do. And that's all that you need to do. Because, you don't need to, you don't need to get special heated underwear, and you don't need to, walk around in a plastic bubble with a little electrical heater with a cord to the house when you go outside in cold weather. You just need to bundle up, for goodness sake. Well, this is what you do. You give the foundation pack and you're good to go. Now, the economy ain't so great right now, right?
Which is another stress.
Thank you, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Economy was pretty great under Trump, wasn't it? Am I mistaken, or was the economy really pretty good under Trump?
It was doing much better than it is now, that's for sure.
So, and medical insurance, of course,
No.
doesn't pay for vitamins.
No.
And there's a reason for that, and that was done on purpose, by the way. That is not an accident. That is not a mistake. That was done on purpose. And times are hard now. So if in the best possible world, we do the foundation pack that gives you everything. But if times are tough and you can't do the whole enchilada and you're feeling stressed, then you do the liquid calcium. Because the liquid calcium has the calcium and the magnesium in it, plus a bunch of other minerals that your body needs in order to deal with this. And then you could also add on to that a supplement called DeStress. DeStress, that's the name of the product, DeStress, because it's loaded with B vitamins, B like baby. And pantothenic acid, which is vitamin B2, is also something that gets burned up rapidly in the adrenal glands as they try to adapt to stress. So the Beyond Osteo FX and the DeStress are really a really inexpensive way, relatively speaking, to guard your body against the stress of life. And that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick.
And what about the Adrenal Support product, Pete? Because when I found several years ago my blood pressure from stress-related issues was actually not high, but it was ticking up a bit. Yeah. And I started taking the Adrenal Support because I think it focused on what you mentioned earlier about, the adrenals clamping down because they were being run dry. I'll tell you, it made an enormous difference.
Yeah, and that's like, if you had, if you were an athlete and you're working out a lot and you've got muscle cramps because you're working out a lot, what you need to get over the muscle cramps metabolically is more water and more magnesium. Mm-hmm. And more calcium, because those things are necessary in order to have the muscles relax the way that nature and God intended them to. If you don't have enough of that stuff, even if you're not exercising, your muscles are going to cramp up. One of the leading causes of restless leg syndrome or Charlie horses at night in bed is not enough calcium and magnesium. So even though those nutrients are necessary in order to help, what would also help the athlete is a nice massage. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. That would help a lot. Well, that's what the Good Herbs formulas are like. It's kind of like the massage given to the adrenal gland secondarily as we're supporting the adrenal glands in the case of excess stress nutritionally. Mm-hmm. It's like the icing on the cake of the nutritional support method. And if it's in the budget, you should definitely do it. Because the botanical medicines that are contained in the Good Herbs Adrenal Support formula, and again, it's a formula, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's a little concert of its own, mm-hmm. Has a tremendously positive effect on the adrenal gland itself biochemically, helping the adrenal gland to bounce back from the negative effects of distress.
So the entire banquet would be the foundation pack,
yeah,
the DeStress,
yep,
and the Adrenal Support.
100%.
But in this time of Biden inflation,
yeah,
and Biden economics, when times are very, very tough financially, the entry level to try to deal with stress would be
Beyond OsteoFX, liquid or powder, and the DeStress tablets.
Got it.
It's the best way to do it. And you will feel better if you do those two things. I mean, it's like, again, I go back to the same metaphor because it's an apt one. I mean, you go outside in cold weather without a hat, or you go outside in cold weather with a hat, you feel better with the hat.
Yeah.
So, the proof of the pudding is in the eating here, pun intended. But this is how we do it. And this is a smart thing to do. And also, it's important that we put all of this stuff in the greater context, because what we're actually doing in this case is supporting and promoting the body's ability to optimize its function, which is a highfalutin terminology to say we're helping the body we're helping to prevent things from breaking down. It's mm-hmm. prevention, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. which is worth an ounce of cure. And it's much better to prevent, in this case, the adrenal glands from atrophying and getting to the point of no return, mm-hmm. after which you're going to have high blood pressure, you're going to have kidney dysfunction, you're going to have thyroid dysfunction, because everything's connected, mm-hmm. and it's not going to be pretty. Mm-mm. You don't want that to happen. Mm-mm. So what do? Well, you prevent that from happening either by moving to Tahiti or someplace where there's no stress. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Or by giving your body the nutritional support that it needs to handle it. And so this is a really smart idea on two fronts.
And one of the other foundations is very straightforward, and that is to whatever you eat, make sure that it's actually helping and not hurting you. And you have done a video, which is free. It's on our website, operationfreedomhealth.com, called The 12 Bad Foods to Avoid. And folks can go to operationfreedomhealth.com. That video is there. Peter and I's previous presentations are there. Full disclosure, purchase of the products. I mean, there's no sense telling you what to do and then not having the right products. And not all products are created equal. That's another important part. The products that that we have on OperationFreedomHealth.com are the products that Pete and I endorse and have utilized ourselves for years, and Peter has utilized for thousands of patients over the years. Purchase of the products does benefit this platform, so we can keep giving these presentations. And all of our videos and all of the products and the free video are all on OperationFreedomHealth.com. And Pete, I mentioned at the beginning of this, you have the website, drglidden.com. Educate our listeners on drglidden.com and the books that I spoke about earlier, Attempt to Cure with Holistic Medicine, and Everybody is Sick, and I Know Why, of which you're the author of.
So the culture that we've grown up inside of for the last 100 years, which is longer than anybody's been alive, has socialized everybody to believe without question in the benefits of allopathic medicine across the board, right? Mm-hmm. And that, even when people kind of wake up and see through that, and they say, well, geez, I'm glad that if I break my leg when I'm skiing, these guys are going to fix it. That's a great thing. If my retina pops off the back of my eye, they can squish it back. That's a great thing. But for everything else, it's really not such a good idea. I mean, because they don't increase health. When people have that realization, they are then in the minority socially, and they're swimming against the current. Because everybody at work doesn't think that way. Most people in their families don't think that way. No. That we are in the minority here, and where it's like the fella said, if the story's true, not everybody got on Noah's Ark. That could. Well, it's the same thing here. Not everybody in the world is going to get what we say and adopt it and kind of see the light. Not everybody will do it, but some people will. So if you are of the few and the brave who have woken up to the benefits of this approach, you need support, because you're alone basically in your own little world. So on my website, drglidden.com, I have a subscription service which continually educates you. I mean, I have hundreds of hours of video tutorials and written explanations about all kinds of things relating to health. Hundreds of hours, plus 2 hours a week, I have a live chat where I answer questions from people just like you all around the world. I mean, I do it every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Central and every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Central. Last time I did it, we had people from Vietnam, people from Barbados, people from Ireland, people from all over Canada, all across the United States on. It's a wonderful community because, like the fella said, people will come for the information, but they'll stay for the community. And my message to everybody listening to our video series is you are not as alone as you think you are. Because there are millions of people around the globe who have also seen the light. And it's not a bad idea for you to hang out with them. And it's also important in order to keep you thinking that, you haven't made a bad decision or that you're not nuts because you're the only one in the office taking the tangy tangerine. You're the only one in the office that stopped eating oil, right? You need to be currently supported until this becomes second nature for you.
That's right.
And that's what happens at drglidden.com.
Pete, I'd like to thank you for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. I'd like to thank you folks for joining us today. We hope that you'll take this message. We hope you'll go to OperationFreedomHealth.com. We hope you'll go to drglidden.com. But we have one other hope. Our other hope is that you'll then take this information and you'll share it with everyone you know and love. The more people that are educated on this front, the more people that become empowered. And the sooner we end what truly has become a reign of terror and error by big pharma, big medicine, big insurance, and big government. Fact. I thank you for joining us today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.